Hey, what's going on, everyone? 17.4 has been announced. We have some tips and tricks to help you out with this workout, especially with the standards. The first couple things we're going to talk about is those handstand push-ups and then the wall balls, all right? Some of you might recognize this from last year because 17.4 is 16.4, which means you should know exactly what it feels like and you should have a score to beat, which helps a lot. So first thing, if you can check this out real quick, when I lift my hand up over my head, if my head's neutral, take a look at my hand. If I look up, my arm drops. If I look straight, arm goes straight up. So with handstand push-ups, I am losing range of motion depending on my head position. Best example of this was last year, Josh Bridges, when he went to get Scott Pan-checked. He kept looking down at the ground and he kept getting no rep because his heel wouldn't pass that line. Okay, second quick tip for the heels over the line. We're going to use the ground to kind of show you this. Here I am. My heels are over that line, just barely, right? Some of you may be like this, depending on how wide you put your hands. If I point my toes up, like most of us do when we do handstand push-ups, no rep. Rep, no rep. So I would grease the groove, learning how to keep your toes pointed towards the ground or your face, if that works for you, while you do handstand push-ups. Because depending on that width of your hands, it's gonna change how much room you get at the top. All right, now when it comes to wall balls, everyone knows wall balls, once you stop, that's for your heart rate, you realize where it's at. But you should be breathing the whole time in wall balls. So we have Hirsch helping us out here. Now, most of us have learned to breathe in on the way down while moving a weight. Wall balls are light, right? It's an air squat, stand up, jump and throw. Sometimes you jump, sometimes you don't. We'll talk about that with feet when we get to the board. So when Hirsch goes, she's gonna breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Oh, I messed up the cycling, look at that. She's gonna breathe out at the bottom, breathe in, breathe out. We wanna constantly be breathing. We never wanna be holding our breath. You should not be breathing in at the bottom. You should be breathing out. You can relax, thanks Hirsch. When you're fresh, you might be doing 1 breath per wall ball, out, in. Once your heart rate gets up, you gotta go 2 breaths per wall ball, okay? Match your breathing to your movement so that way you're not fighting against your own body. All right, I hope that makes sense. Now, this workout, kind of get into the flow for it. Hirsch did a mobility video, you can check that out. We'll link it in the description. Movement prep and mobility. We're gonna talk about some flow work before you get going, right? So once you get warmed up, now it's time to work on these movements, get your body ready to complete this workout because you only have 13 minutes. That is it, okay? So what I recommend is doing 3 rounds, deadlift times 5. Don't have to go fast right away, work your rhythm, make sure your back's solid, make sure you're not bouncing that bar, increase weight as you go. So guys, if you're going RX, start at 135, hopefully you did the bar already a little bit. 135, 185, last round go 225. 225, find your rhythm that you want to deadlift with. Wall balls times 5, focus on breathing. Find your breathing pattern and work with it. Okay, you don't want to fight your breathing pattern. 5 calories in the rower, working on rhythm. And we'll talk about a couple different rhythms we can do with that. We do not want to be going high strokes per minute, getting that heart rate higher. Handstand push-ups, we want to grease the groove. So that means just doing a couple, doing 3, doing 4, whatever it is, whatever works for you best, because I don't want you fried out before you get there. We just want to make sure these feel good and focus on those toes in the head position where your toes are pointing. Now, over here real quick, we have 2 important things about this workout. Number 1, hip extension. It's all hip extension again. We have deadlifts, pulling hip extension, wall balls, pushing hip extension. On the rower, pulling hip extension, handstand push-ups. If you're kipping, you got hip extension again. So something to kind of remind you what hip extension does to your heart rate in your body. Think about 17-1, dumbbell snatches, burpee box jumps. You're using a large amount of muscle mass. Your body's drawing a lot of energy, which means your breathing and your heart rate, that's all gonna get elevated. All right, so we'll talk about how to manage that a little bit. Pacing is important because of that. Now, if you've never done this workout before and you don't go hard every once in a while in workouts and almost hit the wall, like almost have to stop, you really don't understand how you're supposed to pace. Or you've never done interference workouts like deadlift, wall balls, and rowing. So this might be one that you want to do twice, all right? Because this is one where you can do it a second time. Your pacing can be smarter. Maybe you go slower at the beginning. You can get a better score, have more time those handstand push-ups. So for a lot of us that are just trying to get the best score we can, I would recommend doing this one twice. I think it's worth it. So now when it comes to the actual movements, deadlifts, anyone that's done deadlifts and workouts, 55 reps is a decent amount at 225, 155. There's this whole thing called neural fatigue where your body starts to shut down because you just did this movement that's moderately heavy for a good amount of reps and you push your nervous system a little too hard. So a good example of that, there used to be a deadlift, or there was a deadlift workout with box jumps in the open, and people got onto each heavier bar and the bar felt exponentially heavier for us if you went too fast. So even if you can do 30 reps unbroken with 225, 25 reps unbroken you think is a first set for you, I would recommend breaking it up a little bit more. So something that works if deadlifts are really hard for you is going 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's 55 reps. What I'm talking about is do 10, drop the bar. Pick it up, do 9, drop the bar. The workout is not won in the deadlifts, but it can be lost. Another opportunity is to go, or another way is to go 15 and then 10s. I like that one personally. I like deadlifts, so it's not, my capacity for them is decently high in workouts, so I understand that I know how to pace it. Some people go 10, 10, 10, 10, and then 8 and 7 at the end. Brooke Wells, I believe, was doing 5s for most of it, but she was also at 7,000 feet of elevation or something like that, 5 to 7,000 feet, and she's not used to that. But you notice her rest was really short in between. She took a breath, back down, took a breath, back down. Wall balls. It's all about managing your heart rate here. If you go out there and slam those wall balls after deadlifts, a lot of times you'll see people's heart rate get so high that now they're in the pain cave and they can't get out. You'll see them walk away from the wall. This is capacity that you've already earned. There's no magic bullet here. If you didn't earn this capacity, you can't complain about it. You gotta do what you need to do to keep that heart rate in check, because really the workout starts at the rower. That's when all of a sudden you know how much time you have left for handstand push-ups. The wall balls are there to mess you up. The deadlifts are there to mess you up before you get there. All right, it's all kind of messing up interference for that rowing. So again, manage your heart rate. Don't redline here. Be smart. You should be taking breaks where you drop the ball, maybe take a couple breaths, pick it right back up. But we shouldn't see the walk away from the wall, lean on the rig, what happens a lot with wall balls. When it comes to the row, first question, do you have handstand push-ups? Some of us do, some of us don't, some of us hope, right? So if you sort of have handstand push-ups, that tie break after the 55 calories in the rower matters. You have to push the pace. If you do have handstand push-ups and the right time is on the clock for you to finish, have time to hit them, slow down your last 5 calories, start to settle that heart rate down so you can stand up, walk over and go. You don't want to try and slam that last few calories on the rower, stand up and have to chill for 30 seconds before those handstand push-ups, all right? If you have those handstand push-ups, you're confident in them, I want to see you slow down those last 5 cals. How long for you to finish the 55 cals? You should know this. If you don't, you need to be a little bit more self-aware during workouts, okay? Times are all over the place on this, because if you do know and you can see what's on the clock, you know how hard you have to push. If you're running out of time, let's say there's less, you're on the rower and you're 10 minutes in to the workout, you're gonna have to push a lot harder than if I get on the rower with 7 minutes left, or 7 minutes in. Does that make sense? You need to understand what's going on the clock. You need to know what your capacity is on the rower. And again, that was already earned. Damper setting, high, normal setting. Normal is usually somewhere between 4 and 7 for most people. You'll see some people row as high as 9 on the rower. There's almost no point in going 10 from what I've been told. Me personally in this workout, I don't think I have enough juice in my legs to row hard at a really high setting. I'll probably be hanging around 7 or so. I'm pretty comfortable there just because, again, hip extension, hip extension, hip extension. I'm gonna have to lean on my lungs a little bit more than just my capacity in my quads, hamstrings, and glutes. Changing the strokes per minute. So hopefully you've seen in the bottom left-hand side of that monitor, there's a strokes per minute. So that lets you know how many times you're going back and forth while you're rowing. Again, you want this to match your breathing. So when I start, I might be pulling at 25 strokes per minute, big hard pull, really relax on the way in. I can breathe once there, I can breathe twice, wherever kind of works with my rhythm. As soon as this starts becoming less effective for me, I'm going to increase my strokes per minute, so that way the number of times I go back and forth increases, and that will keep my calories per hour up still. So once I start to slow down, and for me that's going to be once I start rowing probably at around 1,200 calories per pull, maybe 1,100 calories per pull, I start to slow down, I'm going to jack up my strokes per minute a little bit and just make sure I can still breathe. It helps me keep my pace, but remember you are doing a little bit more work going back and forth because you're going more strokes per minute. Handstand push-ups. Now, if you have them, we talked about head position already. We talked about feet pointed towards the floor to help with that standard. One other thing with the standard, if you watched the announcement tonight, you would have seen Brooke Wells really arch her back, and that made it a lot harder for her to get her heels over the line. She brought it up in the interview afterwards as well. Make sure you squeeze those hips through. It makes you taller. Okay, we don't want to overextend, butt leaning up against that wall. It will make it harder to hit the standard for the open. Break before you need to. You should not be missing reps on these handstand push-ups unless the time on the clock is running down, all right? If you miss early and you hit failure, most of us understand what happens when you hit gymnastics failure and something pressing. Think push-ups, strict handstand push-ups, kipping handstand push-ups, even handstand walking where you push it a little too far and then it gets exponentially harder for you. So break before you need to. And again, I can't give you any specifics on this because you know your capacity. You need to know what your body's capable of at that point, and that's all stuff you've already earned, hay's in the barn for it. So take this all in consideration, set up your game plan for the first time you're going to do it. If you believe you can do it better by breaking up those deadlifts differently, maybe actually going a little bit slower on the rower so that way handstand push-ups you're a little bit fresher for. Hey, go slower on the deadlift so that way the wall balls don't feel as bad, you don't rest as much. Play around with it because you have 2 times to do this. I recommend doing it Friday and then do it again on Monday. Sunday if you want the gym quiet, all right? But you have 2 times to do this workout because pacing is major in this. Major part of it. All right, if you have any questions, please let us know, comment below. I'll do my best to answer you as soon as I can. Really appreciate all the love on YouTube. Please subscribe, share with your friends. Good luck in 17.4.